Couple things actually came up in the movie news. I guess we could talk about before we get to the live Twitter questions. And one of the things, it was announced that Sony, as many of you know, Lord and Miller are writing the treatment. They're not writing the script, but they're writing the treatment for, and they're going to be producers on a new Sony-produced animated Spider-Man feature film. And it was originally supposed to come out in the summer of 2018. They now pushed it back about 6 months. And now the animated Spider-Man feature film is not coming out until Christmas of 2018. So there's that bit of a push. Look, tell me if I'm crazy here. I was actually okay with the idea. I actually thought it was a pretty nifty idea to do an animated Spider-Man. Now I don't. Now I'm like wondering, wait a minute, why? There are animated Spider-Man things on television right now. Right. Why would people pay $12 to go to a movie theater watch an animated Spider-Man if they can just watch animated Spider-Man at home every day of the week for free? And like the whole notion of it is, do we want to see on the big screen because it's bringing it to life? It's the live action Spider-Man. They're doing that. So I was actually initially really on board with this, and now I'm just scratching my head. Schnepp convinced me this is a good idea.
I can't, because I also don't think it's a good idea. And
I thought you did.
No, I didn't think it was a good idea when they announced it, because they had announced Sony's bringing. I think they had announced the Lord and Miller thing before we even heard about the Marvel-Sony deal. So it was like, oh, okay, Lord and Miller. They were developing Flash for DC, and then they were also developing this animated Spider-Man. I was like, all right.
Now they're doing this little Han Solo movie, whatever that is.
So the Han Solo movie basically canceled their Flash thing, and at the same time, I have a feeling that even though they're pushing it back 6 months, that eventually this film will disappear or go straight to video. Why? Because I think the amazing, whatever they're going to call the new Spider-Man movie, the Marvel Sony version of this new movie with Holland as Spider-Man, and how it's the cinematic blend of the Marvel and Sony worlds. That's what they're going to try to do.
Yeah, I
think it's going to be a smash hit. I think Spider-Man is going to be
the live action.
The live action one is going to be really well received as the intro in Civil War this coming year. It's going to set up the movie for 2017. They're going to probably be in production for Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man 2 and 3. They'll be like, we're going to shoot them back to back, and that's going to make this film seem like an even stranger fit than it already is. I agree. It's like the animated worlds of Marvel and DC are served best on direct-to-video or straight-to-video. You know, it's like we have series like Young Justice. You have all these, all the way down to Batman Beyond, where you're like, we can try stuff, we can see what works and what doesn't work. They have the straight-to-video releases that DC does all the time. It just seems to make sense that they're pushing it back, but that to me is a big clue to being like, let's push it back so it's not in people's main stage. Like, we've got this movie, then this movie. Now it's even farther away. Now it's like 2.5 years.
And the other thing I don't get about is like the appeal of the superhero movies is that like my mom, I mean, I go back to my mom a lot, but my mom wants to go see X-Men Apocalypse. While my mom will never watch an X-Men animated show on TV or pick up an X-Men comic, she wants to go see X-Men Apocalypse. She wants to see Captain America Civil War and all that kind of stuff. That's why these movies make this much money, because it's that kind of appeal. I don't see my mom wanting to go out to the theater to watch an animated Spider-Man thing. And then the argument might be, well, it's going to be for the younger kids. Well, yeah, but the younger kids, again, have the free stuff on TV that the parents can already show them. So I don't know. Okay, he wouldn't do it. Can you convince me?
No.
You have a daughter.
No, because I'm with him. I think that, when was this announced? Was this announced before Marvel-Sony deal?
That's what I
no, it wasn't. I think it was after the Marvel Sony deal.
Because if it was announced before, I would have said, oh, maybe they announced they were going to do this big thing. They obviously put Lord and Miller, and they said, yeah, this will be a good way to maybe get Spider-Man back into the hearts and minds of everybody. But now, but you say if it's afterwards, they might still want to do it, but I don't know why it makes sense.
Is it a Lego Spider-Man?
Yeah,
it's like that's the only reason they should do it.
That's the thing, is that if they're going to do something maybe in a different, I guess pun intended, spin, and you have their comedy blending into what Spider-Man is, and you can add that into the animation, it's confusing to me. I don't know why they would do it, and as far as being pushed back, I agree with you. I think it's going to eventually disappear or go straight to Blu-ray.
Yeah, Ashley, let me ask Ashley, this is somebody who's not like the hardcore comic book fan. You hear that there's an animated Spider-Man movie coming out. Honestly, are you interested in running to see it?
Not in the slightest.
Not
at all. Like, I'm still stuck on the fact that Andrew Garfield isn't Spider-Man anymore. I know some people are excited about this younger version of Spider-Man.
Holland, yeah.
I get that we can use him for a while, but I'm going to miss Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. And on top of that, an animated Spider-Man movie? No. If I wanted to see that, I'd just sit at home and watch some animated cartoons.
Bam.
Yeah,
Bam.
it's you bring up the Andrew Garfield thing again, and it's true. It's like, look, I am one of those guys. I think a lot of people who didn't like The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I think there's a lot of those people who still like Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker. I think you were one of them. You liked Andrew Garfield
Sure.
as Peter Parker, and I really liked him. And yet even I, as a big defender of Andrew Garfield, I'm like, look, if you are going to try to now introduce Spider-Man to the MCU and have the standalone films at the same time, even I was like, you got to reboot it and you got to recast it. It sucks because I really did like Andrew Garfield. And I was looking forward to a third Amazing Spider-Man. I really thought they could have corrected the ship.
I thought he was great. I really
so
liked him
did
a lot
I.
too. It's just I like where they're going with this and the younger version of it. It was just so hard to, and because those two movies had a big stink on them. So even though he was great, even if they did bring in an older Spider-Man, you still would have to recast him because it's just you associate him with those.
Well, the first one was great.
The second one.
Yeah.
The second one.
Second one was.
Hey guys, if you like this clip, click here to watch the entire episode. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel because it'll help you stay up to date with all the stuff we've got going on here at Collider.